Hi, my name is Alexandre Huot, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Cuban Revolution, which took place between 1953 and 1958. In any historical work or fiction, understanding the historical context of the story is very important since it helps enjoy it better. Furthermore, the grasp of this historical context improves the comprehension of the story and gives the opportunity to the reader or listener to get every detail out of it. Alan Gratz' Refugee is no exception. To have a better appreciation of the book, it would be a good idea to learn more about the Cuban Revolution. It's normal to ask ourselves how did it affect Cuba and the refugee crisis in the 80s, which is when the story of the book takes place. The communism put in place by Fidel Castro in 1965 is one of the reasons why Cuba is the way we see it in the novel. The way this political system works, the alliance with USSR and the injustices of a communism party are explaining why the instaurations of a communist party in 1965 forged Cuba the way we know it. To begin, the way it worked can easily explain the poverty and the refugee crisis in Cuba. Communism is based on equity values, so government has to control everything so it will work. Some people enrich themselves while the country is very poor. By wanting to give the power to the people, Castro did the same thing that Batista, the dictator, was fighting. Castro nationalized major industries such as energy and sugar industries. He cut the cost of rents by 50%. He gave lands to the people. He raised the salary of many workers. But we've seen in history that all these beautiful social measures inevitably lead to poverty in the country. And that's exactly what happened with Cuba after the revolution. Moreover, the alliance of Cuba with USSR is also a major factor of the refugee crisis and the poverty in the country after the revolution. By starting to do oil agreements with USSR, Cuba upset the United States, who are very good economical partners. The USA decided to stop the importation of sugar from Cuba, and this is 80% of Cuban exportation that stopped at this moment. This industry was employing almost 25% of the population, so the decision by the USA was very bad for Cuba. The poverty can become a big problem really quick when 25% of the population suddenly becomes unemployed. So Cuba now was obligated to tighten the relations with USSR. The country was depending on them now that they had no more ties with the USA. So when USSR became weaker and weaker, Cuba inevitably went in trouble again. The USSR stopped until then by sending money for the other things helpful for the country. The USA wouldn't help them. The embargo was still in place, and we know that they were a very important economical partner. By making an alliance with USSR, Cuba did a big mistake. Poverty became a major problem in the country, and Cubans just wanted to leave this horror. Finally, the injustice of communism systems is an important reason why poverty and refugee crisis hit Cuba in the last decades of the 20th century. We've seen so many times in history what happens to society based on communism values. It's never working, and it's so unfair that people are revolting against the system. Cuba after the Cuban Revolution is a good example of that. Castro had to be respected, so he let the country pitiless. He ignored their human rights, and he took them away their freedom. For example, he put journals under the authority of the Communist Party. Controlling the media is the first step of taking away people's liberty. If you can't publish, say or think what you want, you are living in an horrible place. Refugee status is much better than living in Cuba when you are free. Furthermore, Castro established death sentence by saying it was only moral justice, but we know with time that it was just a pretext to achieve his goals. After Castro's death, Amnesty International said that his reign was marked by non-respect of fundamental freedom. It's not surprising to see thousands and thousands of Cubans escaping the country after all these injustices and the problems with freedom. To conclude, getting a better understanding of the communism in Cuba after the revolution, with the problems caused by the operation of it, the alliance with the USSR, and the injustice caused by the system will help the reader familiarize with the story of Isabel and Gratz novel Refugee, who is escaping Cuba in the 80s searching for a better life. Knowing all of that, the reader will fully understand what pushes her and her family to leave everything they own behind and risk their life to try and get to the USA. Thank you very much for your time and have a nice day.